Hello, everyone, and welcome to Fratello Talks. I'm your host, Nacho, and today I'm joined by
Dan.
and
Thomas.
and we are going to be discussing some non-Swiss watch brands. We give the Swiss quite a lot of time in the spotlight, and we tend to focus on a lot of Swiss brands. But there's plenty of them that do not come from that mountainous country in the middle of Europe that also deserve some attention. We certainly discuss them, but I think it's good to highlight some of them today and take a bit of a look. But of course, before we do that, let's do a little bit of wrist check. Dan, what is on your wrist today?
Yes, I'm wearing a Bulgari actually.
Oh, wow. I didn't expect that.
Yeah, no, me
You can
neither
hardly
this
tell.
morning. But RJ brought it in, and it's a Bulgari diagonal made of aluminium.
How was that under your sleeve?
And it's
quite chunky.
It's quite chunky, but I have to say, like the it's true that the strap is almost as thick as the case.
Yeah.
But it's an automatic chronograph, so the case isn't actually that chunky.
Yeah, for an automatic chronograph,
For an
it's
automatic
relatively
chronograph,
slim.
It's slim, and it is quite a bulky thing on your wrist, but it's very light.
It looks good on you.
So,
It's
yeah.
very
So
very stylish, and that bracelet is completely
It's-
crazy.
I quite like it. It's kind of nice. This is the 40 millimeter version.
Okay.
I was looking more at the 38, but no, it's nice.
Very cool, very cool. Disqualified, unfortunately, because it is
Yes,
a Swiss brand,
very
but
disqualified.
still a very cool watch. Thomas, for our second DQ of the day, and no surprises here, but what is on your wrist?
Well, it's
today?
a little known and very surprising Dutch brand.
Aha, yes.
Swiss made though. The VPC Type 37
Yes.
HW, obviously in green this time. No surprises, I guess.
Yeah, no, we'll be more surprised when you're wearing any other watch, but the VPC.
Yeah.
I don't know if you
Is this
you
an
make the
ad?
cut because
Is it an ad?
It's
It
not.
is. Yeah.
It's an
not
ad.
an
I'm
ad.
paying through the nose for this.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Thomas. Well, I appreciate the coffee. It's delicious. That's the bribes we accept.
Yeah.
No, but yeah, we'll see if you can make the cut, because VPC obviously it is Dutch, but being Swiss made, is Swiss on the dial? There's Swiss on the dial.
Yeah.
No, it doesn't.
No, I don't
No,
make the cut.
DQ.
No.
Sorry, disqualified.
Sorry.
I am wearing a Seiko, so I think I'm the only one not disqualified today. This is the 7001 or 7002 from 1993. It looks a bit beat up.
It looks like
but
1993.
So do I. So it's very very suitable. We've both aged somewhat disgracefully in the last 31 years. So yeah, there it is. Lovely Seiko. So yeah, but let's get into the topic of the day. Non-Swiss watch brands. What are some of the first that come to mind when you think of non-Swiss watch brands?
Seiko, Grand Seiko, Orient, Citizen.
You go straight to
Straight to
Japan.
Straight
Yes.
to Japan. G-Shock as well.
Yes, very much.
So Japan, obviously, I think there's a long-standing tradition of watchmaking there, and I think Seiko and Citizen really represent that. But I think it's interesting that you mentioned Orient, because that's a brand that doesn't get a whole lot of love. It did feel like at one point the Bambino
Yeah.
had like a death grip on the watch community, on like the online forums. That was like the go-to beginner's watch. It was either the SKX or the Bambino,
Or both.
or both.
That's like
that's
your
the
first complete.
yeah
Yeah, the
perfect
Bambino
two-watch
is the dress
collection.
watch, and the SKX is the diver.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, you really can't go wrong there. But yeah, that brand is still very much around. They recently reintroduced the Bambino in a smaller size.
Yeah, in
right?
38, and
Yeah.
they did it in really nice colors, some eggshell colors, and like
Oh, like pastels.
pastel
Those are
colors,
nice.
and recently with a stainless steel bracelet.
Yeah.
And I think it's still a steal at like 300 euros for an
sure.
automatic watch.
Yeah.
As a first watch for someone who wants to get into automatic watches, I don't
Definitely,
think you can
definitely.
go wrong.
Orient's a great pick. People feel that Seiko's prices are kind of moving a little bit up the range, and it's
Yeah.
true. But at the same time, there's still plenty of options from Orient, from Citizen, of course. I mean, I love my my diver, my NY0040. I have both the black dial and lume dial, and I love the JP2000s, the classic Aqualand with the depth gauge. So it's those are really cool watches. And there's also Grand Seiko, right? Yeah, you have a Grand Seiko still.
I do. Yeah.
It's still there. That's probably one of my favorite from their collections. I know that usually Grand Seiko's like textured dials and this crazy big cases like the 44 GS with all these facets. But I think, to be honest,
inspired by nature.
it's inspired by nature. But then I think, to be honest, that the one you have, the what is it, SBGW
231.
231,
Yes.
yeah. That's a really lovely watch. Just
It's
this
super
eggshell
simple.
dial. Yeah, beautiful, really, really nice.
It's a bit. I often feel with Grand Seikos that they can be a bit over designed.
Right.
Like you could have put down the pencil
Yeah.
maybe an hour earlier. And so I picked the one that doesn't have that.
Right.
It's just this very basic. It's a recipe you find in watches
Yeah.
dating back to the 1920s, I guess.
Yeah.
Just Dauphine hands, but all with this lovely black polished or
Yeah.
Zaratsu as they call it finish, which means you don't actually need lume.
No,
I can actually
no.
read it in the dark.
Yeah.
Without lume, because
For
of
sure.
whatever little light there
Because
is,
of
it
the
just
reflection.
reflects.
Just catches the little it gives you a little glimmer and you can kind of see it.
It's actually more reliable than lume because it doesn't fade
True,
over the hours.
true,
It's quite funny. Yeah.
No, but those are fantastic. Yeah, with Grand Seiko, I have a long-standing sort of love and hate with the brand. I love
You
stuff like this.
You like power reserves. On
I
the dial,
can't
right?
stand the power reserve on the front of the watch. I think it's not for me, right? Some people will like it. I just can't stand it. It's like one of the few things that's probably a deal breaker for me with a.
But you've
watch.
we did this article series getting acquainted with someone else's
Yeah,
watch, and
for
you
sure.
did it with my.
We exchanged.
Seiko,
You
yeah.
took my Cartier tank, the
Yeah.
Solo, and I borrowed your Grand Seiko, and I basically found that it was the Grand Seiko for me, or at least those. So there was also a recent one that was released at Watches and Wonders this year. I don't know the reference off by heart.
Kodo.
No. The titanium hand wound version. I thought the dial maybe it's a little too much. It's a little too textured, but I thought that it was a really nice one with this titanium case hand wound movement, and obviously in terms of craftsmanship, Grand Seiko and Crador are certainly way up there. We should say, I should have done this disclaimer straight off the top, but we're bound to be missing some brands throughout this
Oh yeah,
episode.
this
course.
is not a
Yeah.
comprehensive
This is just
list.
a short episode, but so it's we're definitely not going to run through them all. But I think that's probably it for Japan, right? What do you think of any other?
Well,
G-Shock.
those new
yeah.
independent guys like
Yes.
Kikuchi Nakagawa and
Oh yeah, of course.
Chrono Tokyo, and
Yeah.
you know the staggered brands as well.
Yep.
It's some fantastic stuff.
Definitely,
I really
definitely.
like it. Yeah.
Yeah, really great stuff coming out of Japan, both from the old names and some new ones. So those are truly fantastic.
Yeah.
Why don't we take the 13-hour flight back to Europe and talk about some brands very close to Switzerland, but a little further north, Germany. Germany's the home to a ton of watch brands.
Yeah.
Actually, when you first think about it, maybe you think of Lange. But there's there's a ton of brands, even in Glashütte, but also all over Germany.
Pforzheim.
Pforzheim also has some watches, but of course, you think of Nomos doing their Bauhaus, their signature Bauhaus thing. In Glashütte, there's Junghans as well, of course. And there's a personal favorite of mine from Frankfurt, Zinn, of course, making like the sort of uncompromising, rugged tool watches, and sometimes putting mother of pearl dials in them, which, hey, to each their own.
Sometimes
that
you
can
have
be
to go
nice.
outside of your comfort zone.
Yeah,
you know?
for sure. I reviewed a full black PVD U50, I think it was, with a light blue mother of pearl dial, and I liked that watch way more than I thought I ever should. It
I
was
wouldn't be
just-
surprised if there's actually someone at Zinn thinking, let's do a dress watch. And that's their
Imagine
idea of
that.
a dress watch.
Imagine that. It
I would
could
not
be.
be surprised.
Could be.
I was surprised though with the was it the U50 or T50 that they did
Yeah.
the two-tone version of
Yeah, T50. Yeah.
T50 with the titanium.
It was titanium
and
with like a
then
rose
rose
gold,
gold,
bronze
bezel,
gold,
right?
right?
Bronze gold. Yeah, that was
yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Was a really nice combination actually. It's
Super
really,
cool.
Yeah.
I didn't expect a two-tone watch from Zinn to
No.
be any attractive in any way,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
it was really nice.
There's a sort of competitor to Zinn Damasco, which is also really quite
Oh, of
interesting.
course.
But weirdly, they want nothing to do with watch media. I've requested watches from them, like, can I please try your watches? And like, no, we're not interested.
Okay.
I go like,
Wow.
I mean, actually for free, just editorially.
Yeah, I'm
I'd
just
like to
interested in
handle
what I
them,
write
and
about it. Okay.
no, we're not interested. Okay.
But Damasco then kind of brings us to brands like Stoa and Laco
Laco,
as well,
Yeah.
doing these sort of Flieger style watches. They've been doing it. Well, that's kind of the brand's real bread and butter.
They've been doing it since when?
Let's not go there. Let's not wind the clock that far back. Oh, it always gets a little awkward with the Germans. But anyway, we could also. I think Mont Blanc these days is Swiss, the watchmaking, but Mont Blanc is a brand that I believe comes out of Hamburg.
Germany, yeah.
Yeah.
I think, yeah.
And then in Münster, a city in which I lived and studied for a few years, there is Meistersinger.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, with their single hand watches, which is also an interesting brand. So Germany's definitely also quite a hub for watchmaking.
And they also have a parts industry.
Yeah.
You can actually you can source your cases there, or dials, or
bracelets.
bracelets.
Yeah,
exactly.
Stout,
Yeah. So they actually they do really have something of a watch industry. For
Is that because they're close to Switzerland, do you think?
Well, they have it of their own as well. I mean, those
Yeah.
two towns,
Yeah, true.
specifically Glashütte and Pforzheim,
Yep.
they have a long history of watchmaking.
But Germany's the land of
Free
companies
in the
that
home of the
make.
brave.
No, that's another one.
Oh,
There's a lot of industry that's very specific. Like they make one very specific
Yeah.
thing. There's a huge company in Bavaria that just makes ball bearings, and that's all that they make. But basically every ball bearing produced in the world is produced by this company, or just about Schaefer or something like that. I believe it's called, and it's this kind of this home of a very specific industry, right? And then in Zollingen you have knives being produced, and it's very famous. So it makes sense that there is watchmaking in Germany as well, and I think proximity to Switzerland probably has to do with it. What about here? What about in Holland? We have some local heroes. We have the disqualified VPC, of course, Dutch in blood, but Swiss in manufacture. But there's also Swiss in steel. Yeah. But there's also other brands.
Yeah,
here
Holt
in-
Heinrichs,
Yes.
for example, from
Delft.
Delft.
Yep.
Using Swiss movements, but the case and everything else is basically made in the Netherlands. 3D printed in the Netherlands,
for sure.
partly.
Crazy stuff.
And they did their signature ornament this year.
Yeah.
With the curved lugs and I think it's a really nice design.
Yeah.
Very different from what's already out there.
Very cool. There's also, of course, on the sort of the high end, there's Groeneveld, of course, doing just unbelievable. They have the chronograph as well. I can't pronounce it correctly, but
Well, this was a good attempt.
yeah, thank you. I've been living here for 3 years at this point. I can loosely pronounce just the important things, Heineken and Bitterball. And, all these things. But Groeneveld, of course, is a really impressive local brand. There's also
You have in up north in Friesland, you have Van der Gang.
Van der Gang, right,
Yeah.
right. And there's also what is it? I'm thinking of the German bracelet manufacturer, but Stout.
Yeah.
Stout. Yeah.
Stout is
Doing
also
very
even
impressive
Stout.
guilloche dials.
But aren't they Swiss made?
They might be Swiss made.
But
I'm not sure.
We might cross that line.
They
I
could
think-
also
every
be.
now
I
and
think the
DQ.
dials are made in Germany, or
Okay.
Okay, that's a very
separated in Germany.
multinational brand.
They're very close to Germany. So
Yeah.
and then there's Christian van der Klauw.
Exactly.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
of course.
They also, I think, in part use Swiss-based movements,
Yeah, which makes
but
sense.
most of the other stuff is made in the Netherlands. They have their own atelier here as well, so they make a lot of stuff themselves.
Very cool.
There is De Rijke.
Oh, yeah, of
Dordrecht.
Miffy,
Yeah, the Miffy watch.
Miffy,
those are
they
really
just
cool.
did an Amalfi
I
series.
think Thomas Rasputinsky bought one of those.
Yeah.
With the
he
race
bought it,
car.
actually.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
With the red dial with the race car. We'll put it up.
I know he did the
the overlay.
review, and I didn't know that he
He
bought
got one. Yeah,
but,
he did.
Okay.
He did.
They're
Cool
really
watch.
nice because the watch, it's a driver's watch, so you
Yeah.
can tilt it a little bit.
It has this like sort of like a channel on the side of the case, and
Yeah.
you can move it within the case, right?
Yeah, exactly.
It's really cool stuff. So what if we head south and drive into France? Plenty of brands there as well, of course. We can start in the south where we have brands like Yema that are producing their watches, some of their watches even in France. So that's a cool
they're-
brand making lots of dive watches.
Their own micro rotor movement, right?
Yeah, they have this in-house micro rotor movement as well now, which is very interesting. I've been there and seen the machines. It's a small operation, so they're not producing a lot of these movements, but they're doing a nice job of it. And it's cool stuff.
nice.
There's also on the more micro brand side, we have Baltic, of course.
Oh yeah.
So Baltic, a brand based in Paris.
Serica.
Serica, of course, but I think Serica does put Swiss on the dials, I believe.
Yeah, I think
Because
so.
they're using Soprod or they're using Swiss movement. So
Yeah.
Serica's
Same
yeah.
for Cartier.
yeah, true. Yeah, French roots, but they've been Swissified, I guess. What about in the UK?
Well, I have a couple favorites there. I really like Garrick watches.
Oh yeah, of course.
It's crazy high horology stuff, and I think design-wise they're really good as well.
Yes.
They have the right blend of shapes and materials as well. They do a lot of microblasted surfaces and stuff, which is really nice and subdued. Ferrer is there.
Yep. Ferrer recently released this GMT. I think you reviewed it.
Yeah,
right,
yeah.
Tom? It's
Like
cool
a
one.
field watch. Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
field
it
watch.
was
Oh
not
no,
a
it wasn't a
GMT,
GMT.
it was
had
a pointer date.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
it. That's it.
I think
Four
Fierce
hands.
is a great
Fears.
example.
I was going to say Fears even collaborated with Garrick,
Garrick,
right?
yeah.
They made this
Yeah.
collaborative watch, but Fears, of course.
Fierce is a bit of an example for me as well. I've been in touch with Nicholas Bowman Scargill, the owner, while I was building VPC, because he kindly offered some of his wisdom and his experience.
Yeah.
I think they do really well. I mean, it's a heritage brand, of course, but it's revived under him.
Yeah.
But he does really well navigating it into sort of
Non-micro brand.
Exactly.
brand.
It felt like
he doesn't
skipped
feel
the-
like a micro
yeah.
brand
Yeah.
at all, and he isn't anymore either, because he's
No.
getting to some scale now.
It's a very grown-up
But,
brand.
Yeah, exactly.
Feels like it.
And
yeah.
it's been a bit of an example to me in that sense. Like, oh, that's something to strive for.
Yeah.
Like, how do you skip that? The cutesy kitchen table sketching. vibe,
Right.
basically. So
Yeah, but,
he's done really well.
He's done a great job. If we head further north up into Scotland, we have Anordane
Yeah.
as well, making these incredible enamel dials. That's
And the sister brand,
Pauline.
Pauline.
yeah, watches. Yeah, those are very cool. We had some in. They're like sort of design heavy watches that are really really nice. Yeah, definitely a signature look. And we also have other brands in the UK.
CWC.
CWC,
Vertex,
Vertex,
Timor, I think.
Bremont,
Yeah.
Timor.
Christopher
Timor might
Ward.
be Swiss these days, though.
Christopher Ward.
Yeah,
but
Christopher
that's
Ward, of
Swiss
course.
made.
Talk about a journey from really being a micro brand into now having very much established itself as like like this sort of like value proposition brand that ticks off everything in terms of specs. I mean, they've really become this Goliath in the British watch scene and in the watch scene.
I think
say
once I
overall.
see your name when I turn on a Premier League football match, then you're no longer a micro brand.
No, that's true. That's true. Yeah, exactly.
They were there?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
Sponsoring, yeah.
Even if you play,
FIFA.
I think last year's FIFA for sure. I'm not sure this year with the EA
okay.
football, but there was actually pitch side advertising for
Christopher Ward. Wow.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Cool. Very nice.
Not many
Um,
watch brands. Well, yeah. Like
yeah, a few, but
timing,
usually like the big heritage brands.
yeah,
Obviously.
of course.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not
You get a
exactly
bit of
cheap, I'd say.
Hublot in the World Cup and that kind of
Yeah.
thing. But yeah, that's very cool. There's also obviously some watchmakers like important sort of legacy watchmakers. Roger Smith, and yeah. So there's also a big watchmaking tradition in the UK.
Yeah.
And then I think that I'm kind of looking here into my list. Up in Canada, there's Halios.
Is it
Which is a
Canadian?
brand.
I didn't
It's
know.
Canadian, yeah. We haven't had a lot of experience with them. It's kind of the opposite, right? Like people in North America will often say that they don't get hands-on with brands like Zinn or Christopher Ward, and we kind of then have the inverse thing where Halios being out of Canada, it's probably a lot more present in North America, but us being here in Europe, we tend to admire them at a distance. But then there's also Marathon, of course, out of Canada.
Yeah.
I got to see them in Düsseldorf at Watch Time, which was really, really nice to meet them and check out some of the watches. Again, it's stuff we don't really get to see super often.
I have one.
Yeah, it's true. You have the asymmetrical case, the Navigator, right?
Yeah, plastic.
In plastic. Yeah, that's
Plastic,
but that's a
fantastic.
really cool watch as well, with the tritium tubes and everything. And I think, Dan, you also have, speaking of North America,
I have an Autodromo.
exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. Very cool brand.
That has an ETA movement.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's Swiss made.
No.
But,
Also in the US, we have Brew watches. There's also Oak and Oscar. What else is
Shapiro?
there? Yeah, true. Shapiro. And
Speaking of higher end horology,
yeah, that's proper guilloche, proper hot horology coming out of the US, which is it's feels rather unusual, right? A land of like fast consumerism, producing watches that are made in this way. It's,
tread carefully now.
Yeah, I know. Let's not get too political.
I was going to
here.
say Hamilton, but
There were these Donald Trump watches. Okay, no, let's not. No, Hamilton's Swiss now. And
RGN.
What else do we? Oh yeah, true. Anything else out of the States?
I'm sure. there's
Timex.
Timex.
Timex, true. Yeah, I guess so.
They have a Swiss atelier and a new release coming up in a few weeks. It's coming from there, which is an interesting one.
Yeah, looking forward
Can't
to
say
that.
anything
We saw a
about it.
preview of that on somebody's Instagram stories, but I believe it was promptly removed. So we won't say who because we just won't say who. But anyway, what would you guys say is your favorite non-Swiss watch brand? If you had to pick one,
Ooh.
is it one that you've? Is
You
it?
skipped the Italians, by the way.
Oh, I have. Yeah, that's really bad, and I have a couple here. There's also one out of Malaysia, Ming.
China, there's a couple.
China, there's a couple.
Singapore,
So-
there's a bunch.
Yeah, true. No,
Australia?
let's keep it going. Let's keep it going. So out of Italy, the first one that comes to mind, at least for me, is Unimatic.
Yeah.
Doing a
Panerai?
really cool job. Panerai, yeah, but
But,
Panerai,
yeah,
it's you have to put the asterisk there that they're based out of Neuchâtel and very much Swiss now, right? So
Yeah, I think so too.
But anything else out of Italy?
Oh, I just feel that we're missing.
We must be.
some
We're getting
really
now
crucial-
into.
we're
treading
trying to
on
get better
dangerous
in the comment section.
Yeah,
I think for
yeah.
this one.
Hey, you guys can Google it. We're just sitting here. We don't know. We'll put a list together. No, but so what else did you have in mind from other countries? Stuff we've forgotten. Just a rapid fire round.
Atelier Wen.
Atelier Wen. Yeah. Minaze.
Minaze.
Yeah. Minaze. Sorry.
That's the Singapore guys. RCE.
RZE. Yeah.
RZE.
True.
Oh, and I'm forgetting a whole bunch from Singapore now.
It's okay. I think
it's
we've
terrible.
run through quite a lot. The point
Yeah.
being that there are plenty
It's
of
not a
watch brands,
comprehensive list.
No, exactly.
But is it when you're looking at a watch? Is it an issue for you? Like where the watch is from?
Well, that's a
Is
good
it-
question.
Is there a country where you say no? I'm not going to buy
it's a good
that
question,
watch
right?
because
Because
it's from.
in some ways, Switzerland has become this like a Swiss watch, right? That's like the standard of quality.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I think these days it's never been, there's never been more options to get great watches not being made in Switzerland. So I think for me, it's not really a huge
No, right?
hesitation,
No.
and especially when you consider that a lot of and this is not a hot take by any means, but there's a lot of Swiss brands that are producing a lot of their parts, be it bracelets and cases and this kind of thing
Yeah.
in China. So I think in a way it doesn't matter that much, and it's kind of nice to have a bit of variety, right? I mean, the Swiss brands are there and they're great and everybody knows them, but I think that it's also cool to kind of think outside the box and check out brands from other countries.
Yeah.
So going back to my question, what would be your one non-Swiss watch brand pick?
I really, really like Garrick.
Okay.
It's something. That's a brand I really admire.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Good choice. Dan?
I think if it has to be from my own collection, I'd say Autodromo, because
Okay.
I think they keep a really nice style overall. it's always car
Yeah.
related or car inspired. But yeah, I really like their
Cool.
what they're doing.
Very cool.
How about you?
I think for me it has to be Zin. I think Zin is a watch brand that I've been circling around it for a very long time, and I think that it's just a matter of time until I end up getting one. Probably a T50. I really love the titanium dive watch. It's just a fantastic piece. Although I wouldn't discard it being one of their chronographs. I think that they have some fantastic chronographs that look a little bit like those Porsche design or Fina types. I don't know the reference, but yeah, those are fantastic. So for me, it's probably Zin. Yeah,
I have that feeling, like the feeling you have, like some, like
Yeah.
at any moment I'm gonna have a watch from Zin. I think I have the same feeling with Nomos, but it's still not there.
Yeah. The good thing is they're there, right? So they're not like super hard to get. They're not super
Yeah,
rare.
exactly.
And there's a lot that you like, but you always have that feeling of like, oh, there's a low threshold for you to get pushed into the rabbit hole. Let's say. For me, it's with Zin and definitely with Doxa as well. I think there's a Doxa impending, an impending Doxa in my future.
But this is a whole different podcast.
Yeah.
maybe.
For sure. No, but we can wrap it up there. So thanks, guys, for this discussion on non-Swiss watch brands. And now we have our comment of the week, which comes from Flax, who says, this is in reference to our could this be the next new Rolex episode? Says, I think they, Rolex, need to make an unobnoxious chronograph like a pre-Daytona. And I'm not even a chronograph guy. Rolex has pretty much everything else covered, especially once they reintroduce the Milgauss in a new iteration. Do we agree that that Rolex needs to do something like a dressier type chronograph?
I'd really like it personally because
We talked about it in the
I've
episode.
never been a Daytona guy, but
Yeah.
I don't think they will. They've just so clearly established the Daytona as their chronograph. That I
They
don't-
could do a 1908.
That's it. Yeah,
chronograph.
like a Rattrapant
don't see it
split
happening,
seconds.
to be honest. But
Could
Would be
uh,
cool.
Who
could
knows?
nice.
It could be nice. But that's a good shout. So thanks again, guys, and thank you guys for tuning in. Of course. So as ever, tune in next week for another episode of Fratello Talks. See you then.